you're over the age of 35, stop everything you're doing right now. After a lifetime of eating fatty foods, you may run the risks of a stroke or heart attack due to plaque buildup in your veins and arteries. To learn how you can reduce your risks, visit youthfountainlab.com or call 1-800-853-7856 today. This may be a life-changing call for you or someone you love. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you.
You have a story here actually out of Houston, a very, very concerning story. And this is why I wanted to, talk to our audience about this. So you have a brother that's 62 years old. His name is Hervis Rogers. Now, this brother was arrested recently, and he spent 3 days in jail, and he was charged for illegal voting after he had waited 6 hours to cast his ballot in the 2020 presidential primary elections. So they said that he violated Texas law when he voted in November 6, 2018, as in the general and special elections and the March 3rd Democratic primary election, as according to the state general's office. Okay. So they said that Rogers was ineligible to vote because he was on felony parole for a 25-year sentence for burglary. So now he's facing up to 40 years in prison for 2 counts of illegal voting, a second-degree felony in Texas. It said Rogers was arrested on July the 7th and held in Montgomery County Jail before being released on July the 10th. Now, they say the bail project, bailed the brother out, and they came out saying voting restrictions and expansion of cash bail goes hand in hand. They said that Mr. Hervis' situation is a textbook example of how these systems intersect to undermine our fundamental rights and target minorities in their fervent desire to suppress the turnout of, they say, people of color. I'm just reading the statement. I'm not a fan of that term. And said the Texas Attorney General has engaged in political theater, and said while using the bail system to send a targeted message of fear. Now, this brother's story, of course, went viral last year when he stood in the line that long. He said he felt it was his duty to vote, but he had burglary charges back from 1989. In 1995. They said that he knew that he was not eligible to vote, but the ACLU is representing the brother. And so they said that in Texas, former felons are permitted to vote in Texas after they complete their terms or their supervised release. They say including parole. Now, you know that they have a lot of drama going on about the new restrictive voting bill that's being pushed by Republicans in Texas, and that the Democrat lawmakers left the state because they have to have what they call a quorum. They have to have at least 100 members in the Texas House to do any business. And the Democrats went to D.C. If you know anything about this particular story, they went to D.C. to stop the voting bill. But let me talk about, this here about voting. And, some people, say they don't want to vote or whatever, but don't come tell me that you Captain Black America and not invested into American politics. Because I'm looking at you like the Bible says you're a double-minded man or woman and you're unstable in all your ways. If you're going to be Captain Black America, then you should be concerned about this. Voting and the restriction of voting has always related back to us and white supremacy. Because voting is giving you some sort of a choice and is participation. As I told you, your local politics is your most important politics. You have a lot of influence there if you strategically use those votes, right? So you should not want your votes restricted. Now, let's call it what it is. Texas got this voter ID after Barack Obama was elected. All these states started getting voter ID after that. Prior to Barack Obama being elected, it was no such thing about a voter ID or nothing. But when Barack Obama got put in, this is why they say that voter ID is racist. It's not that it's, they try to use, it's an insult to Black Americans to tell them they can't get an ID. It's not about the ID. It's the reasoning you put the ID in is what makes people say, it's voter ID is racist. Because you did that after Barack Obama got elected. All these years, you never said nothing about a voter ID, not one time. And it was put in to try to stop black people from voting. When they say that voter restriction bills is Jim Crow, well, the reason why they say it, even though they're not saying it because they really concerned about us so much, but the history of voter restriction is Jim Crow. That any type of voter restriction. This is why black people have fought for a voting rights bill, along with the civil rights bill. You understand? So nobody should have their right to vote revoked. Now, you want to talk about gun rights because of certain crimes, that's definitely to be talked about. But voting, how do you hurt somebody voting? Sure, you can grab a gun and hurt somebody with it, but why is it that certain felonies you say, well, you can't vote anymore or you can't have a gun? And then they make sure to try to put these felonies on black people. Now, I covered a story, I think maybe about a month ago, where you had this race soldier saying that he wanted to put felonies on black people when he was in a white supremacist chat room because he wanted to take away our votes and he wanted to take away our ability to have a gun. You understand? That was put on the books as another way to stop black people from voting. Sure, if prisoners wanted to vote, why not? How are they hurting people by voting? Seriously, how are you hurting somebody? Okay, you choose a candidate. That's it. But the fact is, they do not want black people to vote. The Republican strategy has been since this is way before modern time, going way back. They said that, listen, the only way we really can win is that we got to stop all the people we can from voting, especially the Negro. If we can stop that Negro from voting, then we'll stay in power. So this is why the Republicans go through all these measures to try to stifle black people from voting. And then you have, that's why I don't understand these, so-called black conservatives. Because why isn't you not telling your people on the right that, hey, wait a minute, what y'all putting in is making it difficult. I said this, it's easy to solve this problem. Very, very easy to solve this problem. They say supposedly people cheating or whatever. No, you just don't want black people to vote. Now here in Texas, a system could be fixed real quick. All you have to do is, since you got voter ID, right? A person swipe their ID. What should pop up on the screen? Are they eligible to vote? Yes or no? If it's no, it should say the reason, like did not register. No, because on parole. No, because you have a felony. And then, okay, well, here's this number right here. Here's this website. Okay, well, you need to call them and see if you can get that changed. That will solve a lot of those problems. And that way nobody's illegal voting. But see, they don't want to do that. They're hoping to catch somebody up on this. If you want your voter ID, there's another thing you could do. Okay, Republicans, you want your voter ID? Cool. Well, in the bill, you got to provide everybody in the state with a free ID. Now, I'm not saying a free driver's license, but I'm saying a free state ID. And the moment they get their state ID, they're registered to vote. Why do you need to get registered to vote? Why? Aren't you an American citizen? Well, then it means that you should be registered to vote. Think about it. Do you have to be registered for your freedom of religion? Do you have to be registered for your freedom of speech? You have to be registered for that. So we got to register for a right that we're supposed to have. All of that has been put in to try to restrict black people from voting. That's all it is to it. So black folks should be concerned, if anything, on the local level about voting, about you should have control and involvement of with your mayor, city council, school board, sheriff, DA, judges. You should participate in that. Now, you may say, I don't feel like doing that. Well, let me tell you something. The Asian community, they get more politically involved. The Hispanic community, the Arab community, all the different communities understand that it takes politics to earmark money to bring back to your community. But if you're not even trying to get in there and control some things or speak up for your people, then don't cry and say black folks are being treated bad when you're not trying to change the situation. You're not. Judge Joe Brown the other day talked about how, y'all should be going on jury duty. He said because some of y'all don't want to go there. If you're going to say you Captain Black America, then you need to be really invested in fixing Black America and whatever else going on around you. But what's happened to this brother is sad. It's wrong. And this is the type of laws that's on the books that literally, like you say, is Jim Crow. Another black woman, about a year or two ago, she got put in jail for 5 years for illegal voting. Because the same thing, she was on parole. She didn't know, she couldn't vote at the time. And that's how they got her. 2 black people in the same state. Now, many of you in the state of Texas need to be registered to vote. We had a lot of new people that moved in here too. All the new people, welcome to the state. Get registered to vote, please, because that governor we have, Greg Abbott, he is horrible. He needs to go, and everybody needs to go and vote him out. Somebody else outside of Greg Abbott, please. He needs to go. He failed this state with that winter storm. Or they say about 700 people died with that. He's failing with the situation that's going on with the power grid. He's not doing nothing about that. Many of y'all was having your thermostat moved and all kind of things was happening with the heat. You remember when they had that heat a while back? This guy is not competent. So y'all need to get registered to vote. All of you, I'm talking to everybody at this point. Get registered to vote. And then when it's time to vote next year for governor, vote him out. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to go and make sure to vote him out. Because, he got to go. That man do not need to be governor. He got his nose so far up Trump's butt, he can't even see daylight. And that's the sad part. He ain't got his own mind. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the situation with our brother here. And there's also a website that you can check before going to vote. I'll try to put that link down there below in that pinned comment, and you can click that, put in your information, and it'll tell you you're registered to vote or not. Do that before you go vote, since they don't have ways to prevent you from illegal voting, right? So just check that website before you go vote. Just make sure you check it out, and it'll tell you if you're registered to vote or not, and you have that now. This is through the state. This is not no website that's not connected to the state of Texas. So make sure you do that before you go vote.
These proceedings are concluded. This court is adjourned. All the shit I did for this motherfucking company.
You ever had a great idea stolen from you and didn't know how to go about getting justice? In Charles Ford's The Anatomy of a Corporate Lynching, he takes us behind the scenes of his public copyright and civil rights lawsuit against his employer, Con Edison. In this explosive page-turner, Ford writes of an idea he submitted being taken and used without credit or compensation. In a book where no names have been changed to protect the guilty, Ford details how he stood his ground legally against theft and racial discrimination. Ford's exploration of a corporate lynching attempt inspires readers to pursue justice and fight back legally in the face of corporate opposition and retaliation. The Anatomy of a Corporate Lynching is available on Amazon worldwide in paperback and on Kindle. Find Ford at author Charles Ford on Instagram.